All right, now it works. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Had a few technical issues, but now I seem to be live. Nice that you're here. If you're catching this live stream live, it's time for another Q&A on the channel. Hope you're doing well. Also, if you're watching later the video on demand, of course, these live streams always become a video that you can later watch on the channel normally. That's why I'm doing it Monday 6 p.m. So if you're here for the video, why not catch it live? I do these Q&A videos every 2 months, and every second time it's a live stream. So last time I did it pre-recorded, this time live stream. I prepared a few questions here from previous Q&As, so I will just go through them, especially before the people are coming in. And if there are already, I see there are already 3 people in here. So if you could just let me know in the chat if the audio is okay, if you can see me okay, and where you are watching from. I always like to know where people are tuning in from. Spring is definitely here. It has really blessed us this year here in Belgium. We have beautiful weather, so that's why I finally have some color back on my skin, I feel like. If you have any questions regarding translation, languages, freelancing, whatever it may be, just ask them in the comments. It usually takes a while until people join the stream and come in, but just whenever you can, let me know in the chat that you can hear me, where you're watching from, what's your name, so that we can have an interaction going. Until then, I will just start with the first question I have here. I got a few questions about money, about earning money as a freelancer, as a translator in different countries. So I bundled a few of them together. So quite a lot of this Q&A will be around money, receiving money, getting different currencies. Marco is here. Hello. Has AI already affected your field? It has definitely affected. Oh, from Kenya. Nice. It has definitely affected our field. Luckily, not for me yet. I haven't noticed anything from my clients, but I hear from a lot of my colleagues that work has been drying up. That companies are scared to still when it's an agency, they're scared to still send the same type of jobs and pay the same amount of money to the freelancers, because they're scared that the end client doesn't pay them what they used to pay for it, because they expect it to be faster, to be kind of immediate, like the AI can do, right? So it's very important, more important than ever, that you really educate your clients in which use cases it makes sense to use it, in which it doesn't, in which cases a hybrid solution makes sense, right? There was a trend it has been like this for years, that translators are paid by the word, and I see that changing as well with AI becoming more and more integrated in the field. What has really changed for us is just that it's now on the top of mind of everyday people, right? Also on the end client, because for us the workflow has not changed that much yet, right? We were faced with that reality way before other industries that are now only waking up to it. So in that sense, we have already a kind of a head start to it. But of course, now the end clients are also asking questions, and there seems to be, of course, inevitably there will be a trend towards much more standardized texts, right? Because the more standard AI texts are out there, the more models learn like that. So the way that you can stand out nowadays is with creative texts. And even there, you can definitely use AI to optimize. Kim is here. I'm also working off of proofreading and fixing AI translations. Oh, really? Okay. Thankfully, I do have to fix them up a lot, almost completely, but worried about how much better it will be. Yeah, and it's also a question whether you want to do that, right? Because it's a completely different job profile. You don't necessarily have to be a good translator to do that. You have to be a good reviewer, a good editor. So it's suddenly a different job profile that is asked to translators, even though they might not be even trained in that field. So there is also kind of a problem there. I have a few colleagues that just don't offer the service because they say they're not editors, they're translators, right? So they would rather focus on their very expertise field where they specialize in and do the translations there where it's needed. And these clients, they don't even, it's not even a question whether they should use AI to do that either, because it's so highly confidential or just so highly client facing. So that's where I see the future for every translator. So it's definitely much harder nowadays to be a generalist. I've said that many times on the channel. It used to be fine, quite easy to live off of generalist agency work, right? And I see that kind of drying up the whole agency model in the future. So I kind of diverted from that a long time ago, and I've seen only positives from that. So definitely that's something I would recommend. Where are you watching from, Kim? You have an interesting name. Are you from South Korea, maybe? If you have more questions, I see now there are 14 people in here, so thank you very much for taking the time and coming on. I'm going to stream until roughly 6:30, 6:35. Canada, but I'm Korean. Yes. Okay, nice. Okay, very cool. That's quite the other side of the world. Nice. I just filmed a specialized episode for my channel, and it's about manga and anime. So it's gonna come like end of April. It will be on the channel, and it was crazy the amount of time zones we had to manage with the different panelists that work in this expert field. So we had like someone from Japan, someone from New Jersey, someone from Sydney, and then me in Brussels. So I ended up recording it at 1 a.m. Sunday night because it was the only time that we managed to fit it all together. But that's the beauty of this globalized world, right? We can easily just I can find the best people for the job and talk to them about their specialization. And there have a lot of people have asked me to do something about anime and manga, because there is such a passionate community there in the English to or Japanese to English translation world of this type of media. So I'm very happy, excited to see that video. Yeah, stay tuned. I can actually tell you exactly when it comes out. Hang on. It will be the 28th of April at 6 p.m. So stay tuned for that. All right. I'm going to take a question that I have prepared here. Until the next one comes in, feel free to ask all your questions or just also your comments. Let me know where you're watching from, how you're feeling about the industry, if you're working in it. Anything is welcome. So one thing I mentioned before, that a lot of questions about money came in. So one question I got was from someone called McRuffin. Can you make a video about living abroad but wanting to make American money? It's very specific. Upon being fluent, I want to live in Mexico but get paid an amount that I'd make in the US in dollars. Is this even possible? And how does the currency exchange work if they pay me in pesos? Do agencies pay you less for living in certain countries? I can't find any answers about this stuff online. It's a great question. Now, there is a theoretical answer and there's a practical answer, right? So theoretically, they should not pay you less because you live in a certain place, right? That doesn't make any sense. There is no, I don't know why that should affect what you charge and what they pay you where you are based, right? I could say I'm based in Switzerland, but I go live in Bali, and that shouldn't affect anyone's business, right? You don't even need to tell them where you're based in a way. But in a practical world, it is unfortunately affecting the rates. I see it sometimes as well. Like sometimes people tell me, "Oh, but we know you are Swiss, but you live in Belgium, so we don't have to pay you what we pay to the Swiss linguists," right? And I'm like, okay, that's weird that you tell me that, first of all, but also you have to pay me what I charge. That's not I mean, it can be a negotiation, but definitely not on that ground. I find that very strange. And I do see that people, well, I have talked to vendors as well that actually specifically look for even people in India, in Bangladesh, to look for German translators there and pay them very little. And I find that's, I mean, it's also bad that there is the supply for it, right? That people offer this, but to go there and to increase that demand is a very unethical business practice, in my opinion. So no, it should not affect where you are, what you charge. what you should do is rather think to yourself what you want to earn, per month, then break it down to a week, to a day, how much you can actually work per day, how many words you can translate if you want to charge per word, and then come down and down until you have an hourly rate or a per word rate or a per day rate of what you want to earn, not what you need, right? You don't want to go off the basics, the minimum, but what you want to earn, and then you can reach out to the client. The currency is kind of a tricky thing. I'm not really familiar with. Well, I get paid in euros and in Swiss francs. These are the two only ones, and I have two different bank accounts for them. So I have a euro bank account and a franc bank account, and whatever the client pays me in, I on my invoice it says the bank account that they pay me in. You probably need several bank accounts if you're paid in dollars and in pesos. It depends a lot. Like, I'm not sure about the Mexican peso, how the exchange rate is, but I know that a lot of Argentinians, for example, and Venezuelans, they rather get paid in dollars, so they never even have to worry about the peso, because you never know what the inflation is doing, right? So if that's the same case in Mexico, then you might just want to get paid in dollars and just use it, because I know that dollar can be used in many South American countries or Central American countries. But I can't give you any like first-hand advice on that, because I've never worked with that currency. We got a lot of comments now. Kim is saying, my friend in the interpreting field noticed that they pay less than half what the same company was paying in the US in Peru. Wow. Yeah, I heard the same from a friend in Costa Rica, that the wages are much better in the US. I mean, in a way, it's the same even if you're not self-employed, right? If you're working here in Belgium as a consultant, you make way less than if you work as a consultant in I don't know, Washington or something, right? So it's not only dependent on freelancing. Actually, it should be less dependent for us, because we are not location dependent, right? You don't need to look at the average salary of where you live and then charge based on that. Ideally, you are so highly specialized and the expert in your field that clients come to you and they pay you whatever it takes to have you to work for them, right? Of course, that takes a long time. You need a good reputation. You need people to recommend you, to have a lot of social proof. That's really tough to achieve, but that's the ideal world, right? Melly Denise, hello, thanks for being here. Do you have clients that pay you after 45 to 60 days? No. I'm always a bit annoyed when agencies offer such payment terms. That's a no-go. I would never allow that. That's no. I'm not gonna work now and get paid in 2 months. That is no, maximum 30 days, preferably 14 or 15, but maximum 30 days for me. If someone, you don't have to accept that, right? If they tell you, oh, it's how do you say that, procedure that we pay in 60 days, you can say, okay, my procedure is I don't accept that, so I can only work with you if the payment terms is in 30 days. So yeah, I don't work with anyone 60. I have worked with 45 days on an exception basis, because it was such a cool project and it was a limited time frame. It was for an international tournament, and there was just so many translators involved there with this sporting organization, and they just said, look, 45 days after the tournament, we pay whatever you worked for. And I was like, okay, fine. For that, I can make an exception, but usually no. Hasni is here. Hello. Hi, Adrian. I'm watching from Malaysia. It's midnight here, but I'm staying up a bit to hear your valuable insight as always. Oh, thank you so much. But you should get sleep. Don't underestimate sleep. You can watch this in the morning with your coffee, you know. It's not going to go away. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Somnia, where and how to start being a freelance translator? What qualities should a good freelance translator have? What clients to look for? Oh, what do clients look for? Sorry. So it's more of a what qualities you should have as a good freelance translator. Excellent question. So first of all, you have to be not only fluent in your target language, but an absolute expert in it, right? It's not enough that you are an avid reader and an avid writer. You have to know the intricacies. You need to be able to explain why something is something. And it's actually a great practice that I often work with on German with my wife. She's practicing, and I can actually explain things, and it's not easy sometimes why a language is the way it is. But the more you are able to actually explain it with reason, the more you can use the tools in the language to then create something outstanding in the text, right? Because especially nowadays with a lot of machine translation and AI, the standard texts you don't need to worry about, right? If any kind of business reports that are every year the same for every company, this is not something that we can compete with machines. There is no way. So what you can excel is creative language, and that's probably one of the major skills you need. And second is expert knowledge. The more, if you think you're specialized, go deeper, right? I do that as well. I'm sometimes also guilty because I kind of sometimes lean back and just enjoy a bit what I have, but it's not enough anymore, right? You need to always continue learning. I went down to sports specialization. Now I'm going even deeper to winter sports. I'm trying to become more of I'm trying to get involved with the kind of official organizations in winter sports. And there's so much in there in Switzerland in the outerwear, functional wear industry. So there's so much there that I can work with as well. And Switzerland is an amazing market for that, for international companies as well, right? So I'm trying to become the #1 Swiss-German winter sports translator. So that's super niche. But if I'm then the #1, then it gets talked about within the industry, right? So there is word to mouth by mouth recommendations. Sorry, I don't know what's the expression. People recommend me to other clients, and I've seen that working in the past year, so that's really exciting. And then there are some other qualities. I made recently videos of the skills that I think are super important in 2025. So maybe if you check on my channel after the stream, of course, you can go check that video. I think there are some skills that are underestimated nowadays because, I mean, especially in in the more premium client market, there are certain skills you would expect that the skills you need nowadays are more technical, more AI related. But I think with the more human touch, you can still make an excellent difference. 19 people in here. That's so cool. Thank you so much. I think I missed a few comments. Let me check. Yeah, TJ Leaf from the Philippines here, and we get paid way less than our colleagues in the US, even though we do the exact same job. Welcome to the real world. Exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's a shame because it really shouldn't matter, right? I'm assuming you're working in into English. English is your target, so you should not earn less than an American or a British person, right? But it's really hard to establish that. I'm not really sure how to do that because at some point your clients know where you're based, right? And it's also a powerful selling point for you to say that you are Filipino and you can actually, work in that culture. So it should not. Maybe if you go outside of the Philippines to look for clients. So if you look for, let's say, in the States or in Europe, and they actually look for Filipino translators. So there you might be more scarce, you might be more exotic, and in that sense, you could charge more maybe. Because I know that I was recently not looking for a Tagalog translator, but I was approached by someone who was looking for one, a recommendation for Tagalog, and I had no idea. So I just, talked to a few of my clients and my networks, and I've heard that it's super hard to find good Tagalog translators. So I think if you are an expert in a specific field for an exotic language, you can really charge high numbers. Felipe Gama, hello from Brazil, Adrian. Hello, Felipe. Do you have any insights into the future of game localization? Not really, to be honest. I don't do any. Not only do I not game myself, but I also don't have any idea of game localization. I made a video, a specialized video episode. I don't know if you've seen it, about a game localization, where I had 3 experts on. I don't know, it's been months now, but you should definitely check that out on the channel if you haven't, because it was very, very insightful. And I'm not sure if you know Terra Translations in the United States, Terra, Terra. You should check them out on LinkedIn. They have amazing content. It's an agency that is highly specialized on game localization. And actually, the CEO and owner was part of this panel for game localization. So you can reach out to her definitely if you have questions. She's very outspoken and very nice to talk to. So this is a resource I can definitely recommend to anyone interested in gaming. Oh, I missed another question from Marketing Marco. What is your biggest struggle, challenge at the moment in terms of developing your business? To be honest, at the moment, it has nothing to do with the economy or with with anything business related. It's just energy, motivation, doing more than what is needed. At the moment, I have so much on my plate, and I'm kind of at the limit. So I'm always just, every day I manage to do what I have to do, but at the moment I just have to a bit, lay low and just rest on what I've built and be content with that. There will be times again when I can think about developing my business more, because I love doing it. I'm really passionate about it, but just at the moment, I don't have any brain capacity to do that. So that's the biggest struggle, to actually show up and do it, but while still taking care of myself and everyone else around me. So it's not a business related answer, but that's the truth. Thanks. I'll check your video and recommendation. Yes, definitely, Felipe. These are 2 very interesting insights. We'll do that. Camelia Lynn is here. Hello. Thank you for that honesty. Yeah, of course. So I have a bachelor's degree in translation, and now I'm pursuing a master's in conference interpreting. I would like to wait. Let me restart. I was reading that sentence and I didn't take any word in, so I should focus more. So that's what I mean, Marco. See, I read things and I don't register anything. Okay. So Camelia has a bachelor's degree in translation and is now pursuing a master's in conference interpreting. Okay, nice. I would like to start freelancing in translation, but I feel like I'm late. How can I stand out? Also, I have another question. I'm very interested in game translation. Do you know how to find jobs there? Thank you. So a lot of gamers in the audience today. Same as to Felipe. Check out Terra and reach out to all the PMs and the owner. Marina is her name, of Terra Translations. Check out the game localization specialized episode. That's all the info I have on that. I feel like I'm late. How can I stand out? Do you mean late as in your age? You feel like you're too late in your life, or do you feel like you're too late in terms of the industry state? So these are 2 very different things, right? If it's about your age, not at all you're too late. You're never too late, right? If you think that it's too late because translation is, I don't know, not worth it, or you want to focus on interpreting. There are 2 things there, right? I often see interpreters also supplementing the income by translation, and that is a good thing, I think, because interpreting gigs can be quite, scarce. Maybe you have a job on Wednesday, then the next one on Monday. They take a lot of time to prepare, and they are very interesting jobs, very intense jobs, but it's rare that you have a full day of interpreting every day, right? That is extremely draining, and if you have it, of course, if you can do that and you have the energy, that's amazing. But if you're just starting out, then probably your interpreting gigs will be much less frequent than your translating gigs. So I would suggest to continue your master's. Of course, that's a great idea. I think interpreting has still a great future, right? Even with automated interpreting being implemented more and more. But it's funny, I see so many colleagues that have to immediately, urgently show up to a conference because the organizers thought it would be good to implement automated interpreting, and then no one understands anything, and then they need to hire an express fee interpreter, and it's way more expensive than it would have been. Honestly, I don't see automated interpreting being functional to an extent where you can just let it run on its own anytime soon. So I think it's a great field to still get into. And yeah, I would start your translation career now while you're doing the master's in interpreting. So at the end, you have both, right? I feel late in the industry, especially because I do Arabic, French, English. I feel like there are already many translators. That's why I asked how I can stand out, basically how to start. Yeah, I definitely understand with Arabic, French, English that it's a tough market, right? It's you probably don't want to hear it, but it's probably one of the toughest markets next to Spanish. You know, standing out is like, you don't really need to, of course you want to stand out with quality, right? Because in the end, that's what people care about. But you have to first have something to prove your quality. You need to stand out that people find you, right? And the only way you can do that really is to show that you're out there. Have a content marketing strategy, have a dedicated day in the week, let's say, or several days in the week where you put something out about yourself, about your business, something unique about maybe languages, maybe the differences between French and English, the influences of Old Arabic on French, for example. There is a lot of intermingling now in France with Arabic coming in, right? And so there's a lot of interesting things there in terms of language creativity to talk about. So I would definitely do that as a passive marketing approach, to have a consistent content strategy in place, that you become known in the industry because you want to have something to say. That's all away from your actual translation skills, right? That's all just marketing. But of course, you need to build that first before you can show off your skills. And then once you find a few jobs, you need to ask your clients if they are very happy with your work. You need to ask them for referrals. You need to ask them for reviews, ratings, recommendations, so you can build a portfolio. You can also do volunteer work to build a portfolio. That's also a great way. You can reach out to any type of organization, NGOs, and tell them if they need Arabic, especially Arabic. If you translate into Arabic from French and English, that's very much needed in the humanitarian field. So it's relatively easy there to build a portfolio on volunteering on a voluntary basis. And all of this is experience that you can gather while you're doing the masters, right? So that's probably the best bet. And then you need to specialize. Once you have kind of something established and you feel like something is going, then you need to specialize. You need to become the expert in one specific thing. Maybe you already explore the specialization during the building of your portfolio, and then you can really focus on that. Wow, so much has come in. Jorge Edal, I'm into localization and audiovisual translation, but I have the impression it's important to specialize in other areas. Would it be rational to specialize in legal and medical translation as well? Would it be rational? Actually, it's not a bad word to use. I was just about to say that's an interesting choice, rational, but it's actually a good. In my initial reaction, I would say it's not rational, right? Because audiovisual, medical, and legal are so far apart, and I wonder whether you can really become an expert in all three and sell that as your unique selling point. Me personally, if a translator if I were to hire a translator for my, I don't know, if I'm being sued and I need a legal translator as my counsel, and I see that they also specialize in subtitling and in medical, I probably would not go for that, right? So it's doable. It's definitely doable. A lot of people have 2 areas of specialization. If you ask me whether you should do it, I would say no. My bachelor is in didactics, okay, for languages, okay, and I have a master's degree in linguistics. I'm finishing studying a degree in general translation, and I'm starting a degree in localization and audiovisual translation. Okay, so that sounds like your interest is very much on the language side, right? So localization and audiovisual translation is probably the field to go, and then I would really focus on that one thing. I would just, even go deeper. If you're audio-visual translators, go deeper. Like, do you focus on documentaries? You focus on advertisements? Do you focus on, what is it called in English? I don't know, the subtitles you do for people that are hearing impaired. So when you are visually impaired, then you also need to describe what's happening on the screen, right? There's a huge market for that, where it's an audio description, it's called. So it's not actually subtitles, because obviously blind people can't read them. So there is an additional audio track on the movie, let's say, or on the TV series that describes the person is walking in. There is a red sofa. The wall has a green wallpaper. So it creates this world, right? And there's a whole market for that, and people don't really need to be, it's relatively easy to become an expert in that field, because there are not many that offer that. I get asked all the time if I offer audio description, and I always say no. I always refer to one person that I know he does it very well. So all my clients that ask me, I refer to him. So maybe that's something you could focus on. I would rather then stay in this area and not go to legal and medical, because I just don't see how you can become the top 20% in that industry, let's say, without the previous experience. Camelia, thank you so much, Adrian. This was very helpful. Okay, nice, thank you. And it's already 6:33. Okay, that went so fast. Marco, reviews and testimonials are much more important than most of us think. Okay, yes, I think so too. I still do it not enough. I feel like I should do it more, because I'm the same, right? I would never buy nowadays any product or book any hotel without looking at the reviews and the ratings, and I just blindly trust a stranger online. It really became kind of just a norm nowadays to look at reviews and trust them. So if you can show that other clients are happy, if you can show this social proof, that's super important. Why are you always smiling? What do you want me to do? Jokes aside, are there specific agencies you recommend? I've only translated about 10,000 words in the last 3 months. Only? That seems a lot. I've spent far more time marketing. Any suggestions? 10,000 words in 3 months, if you're just starting out, people would be very happy for that, right? I shouldn't smile. Sorry, I'm going to answer your question. No, I can't. No, I feel like that's good. I can't recommend any specific agencies, unfortunately. I mean, I work with the ones I work with. I try to move away from agencies in general, but I don't want to, publicly name agencies that I work with. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn privately, and we can talk about that. But I feel like 10,000 words, you're on the right track, right? You're getting work consistently. You are doing the marketing. You're putting the work in. It takes a long time, right? If you haven't been doing this for, let's say, 3 years, then you are still on the right track, right? After 3 months, that should not discourage you. That should actually motivate you. Adrian smiling was one of the reasons I was Okay. One more question. I've seen Felipe asked another question. I'm going to ask more questions then, okay? What would be your best path recommendation for a stable future profession for a polyglot? And do you have any favorite AI tool to recommend? Wow. I wanted one last short question, and you asked me about the stable future profession. Well, the AI tool I can recommend, the only one I'm using, language AI or language, let's say, machine translation tool is DeepL. I have a paid subscription there. I'm very transparent with my clients in which use cases I'm using it. When I recommend using it, I always tell them if I think it's valuable, and I offer them the service to use it. You know, I would never use it without their permission or without their knowledge. So that I'm very conscious about educating the client on which use cases make sense. And even if a client asks me to do, let's say, a post editing of a recently someone asked me to do a post editing thing of a brochure for like highly specialized skis, and I already knew that that's not going to work, right? But I was intrigued, so I clicked on the sample text, and it was horrible. So I told them I would love to do this project because it's exactly what I'm an expert in. I could do this very well, but this is not a use case where post editing makes sense, because this text is not usable. I would need to start from scratch anyways, and then it will just take much longer than you actually anticipated. But I can do a specialized translation of this brochure for you for this and this price, with a package, proofreading included, and they accepted, and it was a new client. So you are also sometimes responsible in saying when and where to use it. I forgot the other part of the questions. I love DeepL too. Okay, nice. Best path recommendation for a stable future profession for a polyglot. Okay, so you're thinking outside of translation now as well, right? I actually made a video a long time ago now about that. I think it was called something like Jobs for Language Students, and it has crazy amounts of views. People watch it still every day. So maybe check that out. It's also on the channel. There I really went through every possible way that, or every possible job that has to do with languages and linguistics, even as deep as like, you know, forensic linguist working for the police and criminal departments and stuff. There's some amazing stuff out there. So if you're really looking into how to utilize your languages and your linguistic skills to the full potential, maybe check out that video. That has less to do with translation interpreting. Of course, I mean, the three main jobs that I mentioned at the beginning is teaching, translation, interpreting, and then from then I go into like 30 jobs that you can do with your language skills. So I would refer you there. I'm sorry, I keep referring to you to other videos, but it's just easier because whenever I make a dedicated video, I do all my research in that week, right? And then so that's when I have the knowledge. And then I need to just erase my brain. So I barely remember what I talked about a week ago. But then I can just tell you, go watch that video. So I need to finish it here, otherwise the video gets way too long. Thanks to all of you for being here. Alva Nordstrom asking about how to specialize. Again, it's a bit late now, but definitely check out my video that is called How to Find Your Niche, I think, or How to Specialize in 7 Steps. I break it down, what you have to do. I have a big sheet where you can just write in it's like a template. You can just write in your interests and hobbies and academic and professional background, and you can find your specialization in 7 easy steps. I hope that will help you. Thanks to all of you for being here. Consistently, almost 20 viewers. That's amazing. This video will become a video on demand immediately, so you can come back and watch it. I will try to remember to put all the resources down below that I mentioned, all the links to the other videos. And thanks for everything. See you. Thank you for your time. Thank you to all of you as well. Have a good evening, morning, midday, wherever you're watching, or midnight if I forgot who it was. Someone is still up. Hasni it was, right? And good night to you. Take care. I see you next time. Danke, Jorge. Tschüss.